Story time on how I was almost kidnapped. Okay, you guys, so today's story is my own. Let's get into it. Okay, so boom. I was in the 9th grade when this happened, and my brother was in the 12th. We always took a bus to the bus stop that was 5 minutes away from our house, and we walked the rest of the way home. I had super strict parents, so I didn't have a cell phone. This detail comes into play later on. So on this particular day, our routine changed. My brother had to complete some community service hours, so we were going to separate. I was going to go home, and my brother was going to go the opposite direction to the daycare that was also 5 minutes away from the bus stop. The bus dropped us off, and before my brother walked away, he told me to be careful, and I was like, yeah, thinking this was going to be a regular walk home. But I was definitely wrong about that. About 3 minutes into me walking, when my brother was no longer in sight, a car slowly pulls up next to me and puts his window down. Like for part 2. Part 2 on how I was almost kidnapped. Okay, so I'm walking home alone and my brother is no longer in sight and the streets are kind of empty. A car slowly pulls up next to me and a guy puts his window down. A man who looks like he's in his 40s yells out, "Hello, beautiful." I kept walking and ignoring him, and he got louder, and now he's following me in the same pace as I'm walking with his car. "Hey, what's your name?" That's what he yelled, but he said it so loud that it scared me and I started walking even faster. He drives up next to me again and leans over to the passenger seat to try to open the door and told me to get in. At this point, I'm jogging. So he parked his car and started jogging right after me. I full-blown started running, and guess what he did? He went back into his car and started driving to me. At this point, I'm 30 seconds away from my house and I don't want to go there so he knows where I live. So I go to the gas station and he follows me. Like for part 3. Part 3 on how I was almost kidnapped. So like I said, I started running and he got back into his car, and I was 30 seconds away from my house, so I didn't want him to know where I lived, so I ran to the gas station and he followed me. So now I'm in the gas station acting like I'm buying something, and this guy literally parked his car and walks inside and comes right up to me. He then says, "Hello, beautiful, what's your name?" I don't know why I answered. I just was scared, so I said my name was Victoria, which is not, it's Valerie, but I said Victoria. Then he grabs my arm and says, "Victoria, you're coming home with me tonight." He starts to squeeze my arm and grips it really tight. Y'all, I was so scared. I don't even know why I didn't scream. I was just like in fear. But I'll be damned if this man was going to take me home. He whispered in my ear to walk to the car, and at that moment, I screamed to the cashier. Like for part 4. Part 4 on how I was almost kidnapped. So like I said, he told me to walk to the car, and at that moment, I screamed to the cashier. He's squeezing my hand and he's trying to take me. All the cashier did was look up and said, "What's going on?" And that man ran to his car. I'm talking about bolted. He was gone, flash. I stayed with the gas station lady for about 30 minutes after that because I was so scared to walk home. And then eventually a nurse that was also in the gas station who was waiting with me walked me home. I'm still grateful for that nurse to this day. Thankfully, that was a gas station that was close to our house, and my family always went there, so they knew all of us. The gas station lady told my family what happened, and they got me a phone the very next day. And now my brother always walked me home first before going to go do his community service hours. It's crazy because that was the very first time I walked home alone and something happened. Even if you think you're good, be careful because you never can know what happens. Be safe out there, guys.
Okay, so story time. So basically one time in 5th grade, my dad took me to get breakfast from Dunkin' Donuts. We went there before school like always, and as we were there, this strange man outside was staring at me and like making faces. Super creepy. We didn't know him or anything, so we walked inside and I was kind of freaked out. I told my dad that I was creeped out by him, and he told me that nothing bad was gonna happen. Or so he thought. So we got our foods and we ate it. Everything was fine, you know, chill. After we were done, we got up to leave. The man was gone by now, so I felt better. But then on the way to my school, I saw him walking on the sidewalk. Like, I figured he was going to his house or like somewhere else. When we got to my school, no one was outside. It was kind of weird. We went to open the door because my dad was a part of the PTA, so he came in with me. The door for some reason was locked. My music teacher out of nowhere ran out and brought us inside quickly. She told us that our whole school was on code red. Scary. And that a man was in our school, so we went inside and I went and hid in the music room. Like for part 2. Okay, so part 2. So I went and hid in the music room. Dad was in the PTA room, which was close by. Literally started crying because I was so scared and they weren't telling us anything because we were too young. Guess they didn't want to scare us? That didn't work! Once the code red was over, about 30 minutes later, we went to class. I went to go find my dad and make sure he was okay and see if he knew anything, and he didn't. When I got in my classroom, we were all talking about it, and my teacher said that the man just walked in and told them he was looking for one of his teachers from like 15 years back. They gave us a description of the man, and I realized it was the same man from Dunkin' Donuts. He just walked in my school. I was freaked out because I saw him at Dunkin' Donuts before school started, and I hoped I never saw him again. But a few weeks later, I saw him again multiple times at the same Dunkin' Donuts. He literally just stared at me all the time. So yeah, that's my little story.
This guy followed me and took pictures of me inside a Walmart. Story time. So this happened about 2.5 weeks ago, and the first mistake I made was I went to Walmart. Does anything good ever happen at Walmart? Like, honestly, every time I go, something happens. Anyways, next time I should be very careful and look like a scrub. Well, anyways, I was just shopping and vibing, getting followed without even noticing. You know, all the normal stuff. Then I decided to turn in the shampoo section. All I gotta say is I'm so happy that the person I was with realized that someone was following us. So as this guy is taking pictures of us, the person I was with literally turns around and they're like, hey, stop being a weirdo, I'm taking pictures. Then the guy takes his phone and puts it to his ear, acts like someone was calling him. Sir, you ain't slick. As soon as that happened, and I just left the store because I was like, I'm not trying to have someone follow me. And tell me why when we left the store, he did too. So I ran into my car, locked the doors, and I just drove off. Real tough being one of God's favorites.
Story time! So last night when it was dark out, we decided to rollerblade to the gas station to go get snacks.
And on the way home, there were these guys that kept driving by us.
Then they kept on rolling down their window and saying stuff to us.
They were like 18 and they kept whistling at us.
So then we went home as fast as we could, and they followed us into our neighborhood. And so we went into the house and locked all the doors.
Okay. And then something even crazier happened, like for part 2.
Part 2! So we were home alone, and then they were driving by our house a few times, and then they just stopped driving by, so we're like, oh, they're gone.
So we went to bed, and then later that night we heard the dogs barking and woke up and got scared.
We didn't really know why the dogs were barking, and we looked outside the window and we saw their truck parked out in our driveway.
And then I turned around and the guy's face was in our window.
At this point, we were freaking out. We didn't know what to do, and so we wrote on a sign and said, what do you guys want?
They said they wanted to come inside.
We told them no way they're gonna come inside. And so then they started trying to break our windows with rocks.
So we called the cops, and when they were coming, the guys in our driveway started running away.
And the cops just happened to go to the wrong house too, so they never caught them.
So now they're on the run.
And we don't know where they're at, so that's great!
So I have a story time, and it's going to be in 2 parts. So this is part 1. So there's this kid I go to school with. Well, he's not a kid. He's way older than I am, and that's fine. That's fine. But he truly believes that he is a celebrity. It's one thing to be positive about yourself and be happy with yourself in your life, but it's another to genuinely think that you are a celebrity whenever you only have 50 subscribers on YouTube and 300 followers on Instagram. I have 200K on TikTok, and I don't consider myself a celebrity. I don't have public figure under my thing on Instagram because I'm not. He has public figure under his Instagram handle. And he will go on Snapchat and he will do unboxings from companies and fans who send him things. It's just so interesting to me because he has these delusions and he truly thinks he's a celebrity.